Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the heart of the drama, the passion, and the unspoken secrets of our favorite daytime characters. Today is a brilliant day to unpack the tangled webs of love, betrayal, and suspense that keep us entirely captivated. Let us settle in and explore the fierce emotional storms brewing right now. The landscape of romance and rivalry is shifting beneath the feet of everyone we hold dear, creating a tapestry of tension that is impossible to look away from. In the intricate world we follow so closely, the lines between love, control, and outright manipulation are blurring into a dangerous shade of gray. We are witnessing a masterclass in psychological warfare, where every glance holds a hidden motive and every spoken word is loaded with years of unresolved history. From shattered engagements that refuse to stay in the past, to reckless investigations that threaten the very foundation of trust, the stakes have never been higher. As we peel back the layers of these intertwined lives, we must ask ourselves what truly drives these characters to make such perilous choices. Are they guided by the pure, unadulterated light of love? Or are they stumbling blindly through the dark, driven by insecurities and desperate desires? Let us begin with the explosive dynamic between Derek and Ashley. It is a profound relief that these two finally called off their engagement, as their relationship had tragically devolved into a relentless battlefield of bruised egos and constant bickering. Yet, the severing of a ring does not effortlessly sever the deeply rooted emotional ties that bind them together. Derek, despite having absolutely no legal or moral right to interfere in Ashley's personal affairs anymore, simply cannot silence the piercing alarm bells ringing in his mind regarding her new romance with Grayson. He possesses a dark, unshakable premonition about this man, a visceral gut feeling that transcends mere jealousy. The tragic flaw in Derek's character is his absolute inability to restrain himself. He's compelled to voice his harsh opinions about her love life, turning every interaction into a bitter confrontation. This begs the ultimate question that we must ponder. Is Derek genuinely terrified for the safety of the woman he once promised to marry? Or is he merely masquerading his desperate need for control under the noble guise of protection? The upcoming clash between Derek and Ashley promises to be nothing short of volcanic. They are on a devastating collision course, destined to have a fiercely heated argument about Grayson's true intentions. Any objective observer can clearly see that Grayson's recent actions are glaring red flags, the kind of terrifying warning signs that should send any sensible woman running for the hills. Yet Ashley, a highly trained and perceptive nurse who makes critical, life-or-death decisions every single day, seems completely oblivious to the danger lurking in her own romantic life. Why is it that a woman so incredibly capable of diagnosing physical ailments is suddenly completely blind to the toxic symptoms of her own relationship? Is she deliberately ignoring Derek's frantic warnings simply to spite him, desperately trying to prove that she is an independent woman who no longer needs his overbearing guidance? We must delve much deeper into the psychological labyrinth of Ashley's current state of mind. It is entirely possible that she is suffering from the blinding intoxication of new love, a dangerous euphoria that Grayson is expertly cultivating. If Grayson is indeed the masterful manipulator that Derek suspects him to be, he is likely weaving a complex web of emotional dependency, systematically isolating Ashley from the voices of reason in her life. Is Grayson truly enamored with Ashley, or is he hiding a sinister agenda beneath his charming, polished facade, using her vulnerability as a convenient stepping stone for his own dark purposes? The profound tragedy here is that Ashley's stubborn refusal to validate Derek's concerns might ultimately be her spectacular undoing. By aggressively rejecting the warnings of her past, she is leaving herself entirely defenseless against the unseen perils of her future. Will she wake up from this romantic delusion before Grayson's true colors are permanently painted across her life? Or will Derek's worst nightmares become a devastating reality? The tension is palpable, and the emotional stakes for this fractured trio are soaring to unprecedented heights. Moving away from the battlefield of romance and into the treacherous waters of criminal investigation, we find Smitty desperately attempting to salvage his severely fractured relationship with Jacob. Smitty, an investigative reporter driven by a relentless, almost obsessive thirst for the truth, made a catastrophic error in judgment when he recklessly hacked into the hospital records using Nicole's laptop. This impulsive invasion of privacy was not just a mere breach of protocol. It was a profound betrayal of trust that cost him dearly in the eyes of Detective Jacob. Jacob, a man firmly bound by the rigid constraints of the law and the heavy burden of duty, was forced to read his friend the riot act, explicitly demanding that Smitty cease his rogue operations immediately. Now Smitty has unearthed a brand new clue, a desperate offering meant to buy back the respect and partnership he so carelessly squandered. He fervently hopes this fresh piece of the puzzle will be the silver bullet needed to shatter this convoluted case wide open. But we must seriously question whether Smitty truly comprehends the sheer magnitude of his previous transgression. Did his unauthorized, illegal intrusion into Nicole's medical files merely damage his standing with Jacob, or did it inadvertently unearth a dormant monster, exposing a far more dangerous secret that was never meant to see the light of day? The irony of this situation is incredibly palpable. The very information that sparked this entire investigation was initially provided by Smitty. Jacob's fierce insistence on controlling the narrative is equally complex and worthy of our deepest scrutiny. When he forcefully ordered Smitty to stand down and stop acting independently, was he acting purely out of a desire to maintain the pristine integrity of a police investigation? Or is he deliberately concealing a terrifying truth? Jacob is currently carrying the agonizing weight of his wife Naomi's profound distress. Naomi has been pushed to the absolute brink, utterly incapable of enduring this prolonged, agonizing separation from her husband for much longer. Is Jacob hiding the true, deadly peril of this case to shield Naomi from the horrifying reality of their situation, effectively turning his beloved wife into an invisible hostage of his own protective secrecy? The thrilling intersection of Smitty's reckless brilliance and Jacob's desperate need for absolute control is a ticking time bomb waiting to detonate. If this new clue genuinely connects Nicole's compromised medical file to a sprawling, sinister conspiracy, Jacob will be forced to make an impossible, heart-wrenching choice between his sworn duty as an officer of the law and his enduring loyalty to the friend who handed him the key to the kingdom. Will Jacob finally acknowledge that Smitty's unorthodox methods are the only way to slay the dragons lurking in their town? Or will his rigid adherence to the rules ultimately cost him the case, his precious friendship, and perhaps even the safety of the woman he loves most? Let us now turn our undivided attention to a completely different, yet equally intoxicating, brand of domestic turbulence. The intricate, often messy dance of ex-spouses and current lovers is playing out with spectacular awkwardness between Donnie, Andre, and Bill. The primary catalyst for this latest, heated confrontation was a seemingly innocuous, yet deeply loaded, moment when Bill casually referred to Donnie as a baby during a brief telephone conversation. To add significant insult to injury, he dropped this highly intimate term of endearment right in front of Haley and Naomi. For Bill and Donnie, who shared decades of marriage and a lifetime of intertwined habits, such careless language might simply be a harmless remnant of their shared past. However, in the fragile, developing ecosystem of a new marriage, words hold immense, undeniable power, and Andre is not a man who takes kindly to being publicly undermined or disrespected. The tense confrontation between Donnie and Andre regarding his escalating friction with Bill is a magnificent masterclass in underlying insecurities. When Bill dismissively labeled Andre a smarty pants, and Andre fiercely fired back by calling Bill outdated, the generational and ego-driven battle lines were permanently drawn. Donnie and Andre have proudly proclaimed to Naomi that they are absolutely not the jealous types, parading their supposedly unshakable confidence for the entire world to see. Yet, Donnie feels an overwhelming compulsion to confront her husband. Is Donnie genuinely seeking to ensure that she and Andre are on the same page, harmoniously united, or is this confrontation a subtle, calculated maneuver to assert her own dominance and control over the precarious dynamic between the two fiercely competitive men in her life? We must dissect the true, hidden motivations behind Bill's blatant disregard for the established rules. Andre has valiantly attempted to lay down the law with Bill in the past, drawing clear, unmistakable lines in the sand to protect the sanctity of his marriage. But Bill, with the arrogant ease of a man who believes he still holds the emotional deed to his ex-wife's heart, effortlessly tramples over those boundaries without a single second thought. Is Bill genuinely oblivious to the profound disrespect he is showing, or is he executing a highly calculated, psychological test of endurance? By dropping that specific word in front of an audience, Bill might be deliberately poking the bear, eagerly waiting to see just how far he can push Andre before the younger man completely shatters. It is an incredibly dangerous game of territorial dominance, played out in the seemingly polite, everyday arenas of casual conversation. The undeniable ripple effects of this tension are rapidly spreading through the entire family tree. Naomi, quietly observing this chaotic display, might be using Bill's glaring lack of tact as a convenient distraction, a way to expertly mask the profound insecurities fracturing her own life. Furthermore, we must deeply consider Chelsea, who recently and firmly rejected a significant, life-altering offer from her mother. Is Chelsea subconsciously mirroring Bill's rebellious, boundary-pushing behavior, setting the perfect stage for an explosive generational clash with Donnie? The home that Donnie is trying so desperately to keep peaceful and harmonious is slowly, inevitably cracking under the heavy weight of unsaid grievances, bruised egos, and the inescapable ghosts of a marriage that simply refuses to stay buried in the past. Every single interaction is laced with a potent venom of unspoken history, making it impossible for anyone to simply move on without addressing the massive elephant in the room. Finally, we must critically examine the quiet, yet profoundly unsettling, alliance forming on the absolute fringes of society. Leslie, a complex woman who has been thoroughly and unapologetically shunned by the entire town, is finding an unexpected, perhaps dangerous, kindred spirit in Vanessa. Vanessa is currently undergoing a radical, almost unrecognizable transformation, suddenly realizing that her worldview is standing in stark, undeniable opposition to that of Nicole. As long as Vanessa remains fiercely tethered to Joey, she is condemning herself to a lonely life on the perilous margins of their community. She is systematically severing the vital, life-giving ties that once bound her to her family and her oldest friends. We are left to wonder with bated breath, is this the beautiful blossoming of a misunderstood friendship, or the tragic, inevitable beginning of a shared descent into total obscurity? The profound psychological implications of Vanessa's choices are deeply troubling to witness. Is her sudden divergence from Nicole's way of thinking a genuine manifestation of personal growth and newfound maturity? Or is she merely adopting the rebellious, outcast mentality of the incredibly isolated company she now keeps? Living in the shadows with Joey might offer Vanessa a distorted, comforting illusion of unconditional acceptance, a false sanctuary where her flaws are celebrated rather than critiqued by those who truly know her. But we must ask if she is using her newfound identity as a sturdy defensive shield to deflect the painful, piercing judgments of those who truly love her. Is she running toward a genuine, authentic life, or is she simply running away from the terrifying vulnerability of being held completely accountable by her family? Leslie's critical role in this unfolding tragedy simply cannot be ignored. As the designated town pariah, the crushing weight of profound loneliness must be absolutely agonizing for her to bear day in and day out. Does Leslie genuinely cherish Vanessa as a true friend, a brilliant beacon of light in her perpetually dark world? Or is she acting as an emotional vampire? Is Leslie subconsciously dragging Vanessa down into the murky, inescapable depths of her own isolation so she no longer has to suffer the agony of being alone? Misery, as the old adage goes, truly loves company. If this fledgling friendship is built on a fragile foundation of mutual alienation rather than genuine emotional upliftment, Vanessa might very soon find herself trapped in an impenetrable echo chamber of resentment, entirely cut off from the very people who could pull her back to the light. The emotional stakes for all these women have never been more perilous, and the consequences of their choices will undoubtedly echo through the town for years to come. All the content I create is purely speculative and based on personal opinions. If you have better ideas or more interesting speculations, please share them in the comments so everyone can discuss them. I appreciate all your contributions and support. Thank you very much. If you haven't followed us yet, please scroll down and subscribe.